Will Cain from The Blaze went on The View, and they debated mass shootings and gun reform in America. Let's listen.
This is the 74th school shooting since Sandy Hook in December 2012.
I don't think it is the 74th. That's a stat.
You just messing with me the whole thing, right? I say that's what it is. You are not the Tea Party, not the 74th. What is it?
You know, look, that's a stat put out by this group called Everytown USA, who is for gun control. We know a couple stats. These are by Pew and the FBI. The gun violence is down drastically over the last 20 years. I mean, drastically. What I will tell you is this. Every time these terrible things happen, we want to learn a lesson, and it's understandable. We want to grab sanity. How can we fix something? What can we do to ensure this doesn't happen? I don't know. Crazy people exist. I will suggest this. I think when the media reports so breathlessly and salaciously on these things, these guys copycat each other.
When you say you don't know,
agree on that.
When you say I don't know, what can we do? And we're talking this gun control because I know some people say, well, it's not so much a gun control problem, it's a mental illness problem. But one thing I know, simple math says, you can do more damage in 5 seconds with a gun than you can with a knife. You do a knife, somebody can run and jump on you.
I do think we keep overlooking the mental illness associated with these mass shootings.
If you got these semi-automatics, I'm not talking about just a regular pow-pow. If you got a semi-automatic and you're it's something mentally challenged.
Correct.
Do you really want a person to be able to get that?
I mean, I without a doubt think there needs to be
as opposed to a knife.
I am a gun owner, and I'm proud of it, but I also think there needs to be some
When we indict
changes.
a gun, too often we indict people like you, Jenny, or me, who actually own guns. We're law-abiding people.
That you can't own
when
guns.
you go after the gun, that's kind of in the end who you end up punching. The bad guys get this stuff. This guy, UCSB, he ran over people, he stabbed people, he shot people.
You do more damage with the gun than you can running over people or with the knife. I mean, in 5 seconds, a semi-automatic can spray this entire audience as opposed to me coming with a knife.
I don't see why we need semi-automatics.
You know, the gun anarchists in the country, they've basically decided that their strategy from here on out is just going to be to lie. Or ignore historical facts. Maybe lie is too strong a word, because I think a lot of them actually believe what they're saying, but they're acting on bad information because they're just wrong about what they think is happening. So, let's get specific here. When he says, well, I don't believe that. 74 shootings, I don't believe that. Okay, well, it doesn't matter if you believe it or don't believe it. It is what it is, buddy. In fact, I will tell you the exact methodology that they used to come to that number. Quote, incidents were classified as school shootings when a firearm was discharged inside a school building or on school or campus grounds as documented in publicly recorded news accounts. This includes assaults, homicides, suicides, and accidental shootings. So yes, there has been 74 shootings, okay? They didn't say, oh, there's been 74 mass shootings since Newtown. The report has always been 74 shootings. So that's just a fact. To argue against that, you're arguing against a fact of reality. You can't argue against it. And that's the problem, is that in today's America, unfortunately, so often we have one group of people that are just simply laying the framework and laying out the reality so that we can then debate, but you have a bunch of idiots who come in and they try to nip it in the bud and say, no, we don't even agree with the facts. No, no, no. Well, how are we going to get anywhere when we can't even get people to agree on the facts before we have the policy discussion? So they're just closing their eyes to reality, but let's get even more specific here. He says, well, gun violence has gone down, you know, in modern times. That back in the day, the gun violence was worse. Oh, man, that is so wrong. Oh, that's so terribly wrong. So let me give you some numbers here. In 1960, according to the FBI, the entire homicide rate in the country, okay, in the entire country, and the homicide rate, not just from guns, because I couldn't find the number for just guns. So this is for everything, including guns, okay, but everything else too. So the entire homicide rate, 9,000 people, okay, in 1950s. Let's go even further back, right? Because he says, look, modern days, there's less violence. Okay, so the further back you go, I guess there's more violence, right? In 1950, it was 7,000 homicides. Today, there are 11,000 homicide gun deaths every year. So remember, it was 9,000 in 1960 for all homicides, not just firearm homicides, all homicides, okay? Today, it's 11,000 just for gun homicides. Never mind the 32,000 gun deaths that we have in the country, which includes everything, which includes accidents, homicides, suicides, you name it. Okay, 32,000 of those. Also, before 1982, there were hardly any mass shootings in the United States of America. Post 1982, we've had over 80. And since 2007, about 50% of those have occurred. So the idea that gun violence is better today, or that there's less mass shootings today, it is absolutely, positively, 100% false. There's no way you can come to that conclusion unless you are fudging numbers, which is exactly what these people are doing. And by the way, I'm not specifically going after Will Cain here because I don't think he's specifically fudging the numbers. I think he's getting his information from places that are fudging the numbers. All right, because these are the FBI numbers. I'm giving you just the raw data from the FBI here. So, and even when we get into the solutions, well, oh, the problem is that there are crazy people. Oh, really? That's the problem, that there are crazy people? So what do? So I guess we need to increase mental health funding, right? That would be the solution to that. That's interesting because Obama tried that and the Republicans blocked it. But yet this guy's a Republican sitting on the panel like, gee, I wonder why they don't just do mental health stuff. Because your party is blocking it, dippity. Again, they're know-nothings, man. They're know-nothings. And there's multiple occasions where the Democrats tried to increase mental health funding and the Republicans tried to block it. Okay? And then the other thing that Will Cain points to, the problem is that the media is covering it and then people are doing copycat stuff. So what's the solution? What do you want to do? Censor the media? Is that what we should do? So get rid of the First Amendment because you think people are copying other people? Look, man, it's really, really not that difficult to diagnose this stuff, okay? If you look at all the studies done on gun violence, actually, let me rephrase that. All of the credible studies done on gun violence, not funded by the NRA or some gun manufacturer that has a financial incentive to tell you the wrong thing, right? Specifically the Harvard one. We always quote the Harvard one because their finding was very straightforward. They said, hey guys, more guns equals more gun violence. Not that hard to figure out. When there are more guns laying around, the more gun violence there is going to be. Now, does that mean we ban guns? No, you can't ban guns. I wouldn't even be in favor of banning guns. I think that's a silly, extreme policy. I'm not on board with that. But should we do, moderate reforms maybe? Like universal background checks where we ban paranoid schizophrenics from getting guns and former felons and suspected terrorists? Absolutely. We do need a database. We do need to do background checks. There's no question about that. That will certainly limit the violence. Okay, do we need to get rid of high-capacity magazines? Yes, I think so. Again, it's a simple matter of mathematics. People always argue, well, yeah, but somebody could reload fast. It does, even if they could reload fast, it's a matter of math. They have to reload more, even if it's a few extra seconds. That's enough time for people to get tackled. And by the way, that's happened many times. With a lot of these high-profile shootings that have been in the news, it was stopped when somebody tackled them. Okay, specifically, Gabby Giffords was the perfect example of that. What's the guy's name? Jared Loftner. He was tackled while he was reloading. So don't tell me that doesn't make a difference. It absolutely does make a difference. And the final thing I'll say here is people always say, well, the criminals aren't going to follow the laws anyway, so why would we do that? Yeah, great point, man. I guess that same logic applies to murder. Well, criminals are going to murder anyway, right? Murderers are going to murder anyway, so why have the law against it? Because it's still wrong and it's still bad and we should still try to stop people from doing it. And by the way, even if some criminals might find a way to get a gun on the black market anyway, you're going to disincentivize a lot of them that would have done it from getting it. It's called statistics. Okay, it's called making it as hard as possible for some people to get guns. Some will slip through the cracks. As always, nothing's foolproof. But when you look at the overall statistics, it will make a difference.